I wanted to take a segue for a moment away from the bouncing ball and talk about something that's very important in animation to give something a natural effect, and that is an effect that's called easing, which means that things start out slower or faster or end up slower or faster. So I've created this very basic setup where I've got 3 balls moving across the screen with a black line just as a reference point to show you the difference. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the top to ease in and ease out so that you can see what happens. So I'm going to use the last keyframe of the first ball at the top, and I'm going to tell it to ease in. Now the reason I'm doing that at the end is so that it's going to affect how it begins. And this one I have to tell to ease out, and I'm telling it at the beginning so that it's almost like I'm giving the program a heads up of what I want it to change. So before I did that, these 3 balls moved exactly the same. Now you're going to see that one lags behind and one is speeding up ahead. The easing in is speeding up ahead, and the easing out is lagging behind. And as I get closer to the finish line, if you will, they'll start to equalize again, and they still ultimately end in exactly the same position, but what a difference. So if you can imagine that the top one is speeding along and then putting its brakes on, whereas the middle one is accelerating. So it's slow. It's, it's that car that didn't step on the acceleration until it's been sitting at the light for a while. So already we've got sort of a natural, a little bit more of a natural, but of course with a bouncing ball that isn't going to work because we need to go faster and slower. So to get into the speed for when it's dropping and the slowing down as it's rising to an arc, we're going to want to look at what's called the velocity graph. So I'm going to click on this first topmost ball, and let's take a look at the graph. Now often when you first come in here, it's showing lots of different color lines, but what I'm doing here is I'm turning everything off except for the speed graph. And you can see that as it's going down, it's going to be picking up or losing speed. So at the top of this graph, it's at its maximum speed and then it slows down. Inversely, let's take a look at this one. The graph should look opposite. Let's take a look at that. Oops, I need to click on the keyframe. Excuse me. Let's jump back out of the graph, click on our keyframe. Now go into the graph. And you can see that, yes, indeed. So it's slow at the bottom, picks up speed, and then slows down again a little bit. So let's manipulate this, and let's say we pull this down and we create something more like an even arc in the middle. In fact, let's even make it have a big old peak in the middle. So now what we should see if we scrub over this is that we've got slow, picks up speed, and slow again at the other end. So now in a sense we've got it easing in and out. Let's take a look at this one and let's do the opposite. Let's say we want it to go fast at either end and pick up speed in the middle. So I'm creating a kind of a custom ease here. So I'm going to make a little downward peak. And now we should see that it behaves really differently than that center ball. It starts out quick, slows down, hesitates, and then picks up speed again. So this is just a very basic introduction into the velocity editor and easing. And now we'll go back and try and apply that to the bouncing ball.